morning, Stingrays. Today is January 5th, ladies and gentlemen, of 2021. It's been a crazy year, but we are officially in 2021. Things are coming fully back around. I think give it about another month and we'll be full quarantined. So yeah, crazy times to teach in. Yeah. So, but today's lesson is all about, ratios. Pretty easy understanding. It's going to look really familiar because of this right here. Fractions essentially are ratios. If you need a more in-depth understanding, let's switch over to Nuge. Hey Nuge, what's the definition of ratio?
Ratio, a comparison of two quantities using division.
Oh, okay, there we go. See the definition of ratio. Of course, he just told it to you, but I'll say it again like I always do. Comparison of two quantities, okay? They can be any two quantities, doesn't matter. Okay, I have a little board, I have a little setup we're going to go over. But first of all, before we begin, let's give some birthday shout outs. Happy birthday, Jada, over the weekend. Happy birthday, Megan and Corey, was yesterday. And an upcoming happy birthday to Jayana and Joseph, who's going to be on Friday. A lot of birthdays packed in right there, all in the same. That's essentially, it's a week right there. Yeah, so let's begin. Ratios. Like I said, it's the comparison of two quantities. Look over here. You're used to this. You're used to this when you see fractions. Part of a whole. Essentially, that is what a fraction is. It's part of a whole. So you could, compare part of the circle to all of the circle, or part of the class to all of the class. That is comparing two things. That is a ratio. But another thing you can do with ratios is right here, this part. Part to a part. I'll often ask you how many boys are in the class. Oh, 7. How many girls are in the class? 8. So a ratio to that would be 7/8, or 7:8. So it's the comparison of two quantities. We could keep it boys versus girls, 7:8. Or I could say, how many boys are there in comparison to total people in the class? Would be 7:15. Okay, so either you're comparing part of a whole, similar to a fraction, or part to a part. Two separate things that are being actually compared. Over here, you'll see it says that there are 3 ways you can write a ratio. And yes, I will be asking you to write all 3 ways on the worksheets and all your work, okay? I don't care that you know how to do it one. You can write all 3 of these on a computer, so you'll be writing all 3 of these on your worksheets. So, the first way, we're used to fractions. Like I said, part of our whole, part of our part. We know fractions. You can put a colon between the two. The little 2-dot thing, okay? Like you would use for the happy face emoji, okay? Old school happy face emoji, colon, okay? So you would put a comparison of boys to girls, 7:8. This would be 7/8. Or you can literally write blank 2, the literal word 2. This is T-O if you can't read it. T-O, the little word 2. So 7 to 8. A lot of word problems. 7 boys to 8 girls, or 7 boys to total students. So I have set up a little example here. I'm pretty sure you can see the color difference, so I'm not too concerned with that. But let's just take a look. I have drawn 10. I've drawn 10 shapes, and they have various different colors. So let's just compare colors. I'm going to write a ratio of the black shapes to the red shapes, okay? So black shapes is what I said first, so that's the first number that needs to come on your ratio. There are 5 shapes, 5 black shapes to 5 red shapes. That is a ratio. 5. 5 black shapes to 5 red shapes. Keep going. I want it written all 3 ways. So it's going to be 5:5. Or, like I literally said the word, 5 squares to 5 circles. Okay? That's comparing the literal shapes. I'm still comparing part to a part. Let's do another thing. I wrote them in squares and circles for a reason. So let's try it that way. Let me just give it a wipe. So, let's say compare the squares to the circles. Okay, so how many squares are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 squares. All right, so 4 squares 2, how many circles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 circles. 4 to 6. 4 over 6. 4 colon 6. 4, literally 2, 6. That's if I was once again doing a part to a part. Let's do part to a whole. How many squares are there in total shapes? Out of, how many squares are there in total? To the total amount of shapes. Well, I would simply just switch this 6 to the total amount of shapes. So what's the total amount of shapes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10. So this is a ratio. This is a ratio of part to whole now. Okay, part to whole. The first two are part to part. Now, things are going to get complicated. Things are going to get a little more difficult. This isn't very difficult at all. Okay, this isn't very difficult at all. I don't plan on spending a lot of time on this. Okay, 2 days at max just so I can get all the groups in. But let's take a look. Let's say if I were to compare red squares to red squares to black squares. Okay, so I don't even need circles. Circles are just there for background noise. So I'm comparing red squares, 1, 2, 3, to black squares, 1. Once again, 3 over 1, or 3 colon 1, or 3, literally the word 2, 1. Now what this is saying, what the whole thing is comparing, it's literally saying for every 3 red squares, okay, so here I'll even, for every 3 red squares, there are 1 black square. Or there is 1 black square. Now there's another vocab word I'm going to shoot over to. Nuge, can you handle this one for me?
Equivalent ratios. Equivalent ratios. 2 ratios whose quotients are the same.
Cool, thanks, okay? Equivalent ratios, okay? Equivalent ratios. I just said that for every 3 reds, there's 1 black, okay? That's going to keep on going, okay? That's going to keep on going equivalently or equally, okay? So for every 3 squares, there's 1 square. So if I have 2 black squares, well, I must have 6 red squares. Because if I have 2 now, that means each one of these is going to get 3. So that's 3 times 2. Let's keep going. Let's do another one. 4. All right, 4. Or 8. Oh, man, 4. Oh, that's kind of... Okay, relax. What do you multiply to get to 8? You multiply by 8. 1 times 8 is 8. You do it to the bottom. You have to do it to the top. Very good. 3 times 8 is 24. These are equivalent ratios. That's just a little introduction to that. We're going to do a little more next week, but I wanted you to get a little familiar with that because you're going to see it on the IXLs today. Okay, so lesson today is all about ratios. What is a ratio? It's comparison of 2 things. Okay, any 2 things. Comparison of any 2 things. Stars to suns, ducks to bears. The sheets you have for small groups is going to be random objects. All right, going to slice and dice. Yeah, let's get to work. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Boom.